if the answer is yes, then yeah, that's racist. But she'd probably say no. And if she said no, then I'll have to take her word for it. She's the only one who can speak to her own, what's going on in her own mind and her own heart.
Although she's a Trump supporter, she wants Kamala to lose. Presumably she's making the point in a negative way, right?
Well,
like this is a bad thing.
That's
like
kind
call
of,
center and like she's saying these are all bad things.
Well, this is an interesting point about stereotyping.
So that would, by your definition, make it.
Because stereotyping is often leveraged to say that there's something negative that is generally attributed to someone of a different race.
Right, it's correct. It's negative. She means it in a negative way. Because we can assume that she thinks things smelling like curry is a bad thing. I guess not a fan of Indian food. But you can believe or engage in or repeat negative stereotypes and not be racist. You might just happen to think. So, for example, I'll give another example. Somebody might say, Asians are bad drivers. I don't know if that's actually true statistically. I'm not sure. But if you happen to believe that it's true, does that mean that you hate Asians? No, it just means that you think that Asians, by and large, are bad drivers. It doesn't mean you hate them. It doesn't mean that you're racist against them.
Although it could mean that you think there's like an intellectual inferiority, or it can mean you think there's a cultural reason that they're bad at driving in Western countries.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, and no one thinks that Asians are intellectually inferior. I think everybody understands that that's one of the other, because stereotypes can be positive too. Another stereotype is that they're very good at math and science and that sort of thing. So, there are generalizations you can make about groups of people that can be largely true. And, I'm not sure I've ever heard a stereotype where I thought to myself, well, that bears no resemblance to reality. I don't know, unless one of you could think. I've never heard a stereotype where I said, I don't even know where that comes from. That's just falling out of the sky. Usually stereotypes arise because, society has observed things about groups of people, and they can be negative, they can be positive, but I don't see them as inherently racist.
Now, we have a clip from the film that we want to roll here. Let's go ahead and play this. This is from the dinner scene. Matt, you've probably seen this 100 times by now, but
a few times.
Let's take a watch.
I used to be a white woman, an unsuccessful one, for many decades, and it was a miserable experience. And really, the hatred of yourselves and each other is like the not seeing your power, the being afraid. Like, all you do is talk shit about each other, talk shit about yourself. Oh my God, I'm so fat.
That's all they do. I'm telling you, these white women.
But that's it. It's I'm so fat, I'm so stupid, I'm blah blah blah.
Sorry.
Your kids are watching you, and they're watching you talking shit about each other, raging against the machine or being silent or whatever the hell it is that you're doing or not doing, and they know that you're not doing shit for them.
That's so important. That is so important what you just said. It's really important. That's all.
You may have to add you to our team.
Oh, I would love to take a seat and join you.
No, you're not allowed to.
How'd you get the cameras in there, by the way? Like, set that up for us?
Yeah, they're not hidden cameras.
Obviously, they're like cinematic level.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody knew they were being...
Everybody's mic'd up. And
everybody was mic'd. Everybody knew they were being filmed. And they thought they were being filmed for a documentary about anti-racism, which they were, because that is what we made.
True.
So that's what we told people. We're making a documentary on anti-racism.
And did they know you were involved in it?
Probably not. Probably not.
So like this waiter, like they didn't know that the waiter was part of the film.
No, they didn't. They didn't.
But they knew you had to be mic'd up because everybody in the kitchen and everywhere else had signed the thing. Is that how that worked? Or?
I don't think they knew that I had a mic on. And I wanted to sit at the table at the Race to Dinner and be a part of the conversation, but we were told that they only accept women to be at the table, which I thought was interesting, because then our next question is, well, what is a woman? Which kind of harkens back to our first film.
And you later do sit down in that scene.
Yeah, well, I kind of invited him. I earned my seat at the table. Right. I invited myself to be a part of the dinner, and I felt...
As a man does.
It's painful, yeah.
Did a little mansplaining to the women, and they seemed to really enjoy it.
It's weird to me because they famously, I guess it's not so famous, but they, this was years ago, I think this was pre-COVID, there was a podcast called Femsplainers that Danielle from Crittenden and Christina Hoff Sommers hosted, where they had a similar experience with Syra Rao over the Race to Dinner stuff, and you'd think they would be way more careful, but it seems as though maybe they let their guard down, I don't know.
Yeah, that is. Of course, I get this question all the time. Is like, how did they not recognize me, or how did they not ask more questions? And I guess I don't know the answer to that question, but I do think that the answer I generally give, that I think is correct, is that a lot of these people live in kind of a bubble. So number one, they're not as aware of people outside that bubble as we assume they are. So me, as someone in conservative media, I'm actually outside of their bubble, which is weird to me because I know everybody in liberal media. Because I want to know what they're saying. So I kind of assumed that they do the same.
You're familiar with Ryan Grimm, noted liberal journalist Ryan Grimm.
So he's right about 12% of the time, which I appreciate.
I'll take that.
So, but they're kind of in this interesting bubble that they don't not only didn't know who I was, but also I think it was kind of inconceivable to them that they would ever find themselves in a room with someone who doesn't agree with them. I think that just never occurred to them because it's never happened before. Robin DiAngelo appears later in the film, and I think me sitting in the room with her was probably the first time in like 20 years that she's actually sat across the room from someone who doesn't already agree with everything that she thinks.
I think part of the 12% that I've been right about over the years, I think, has been that I do think this entire DEI industry is, a grift, and it's just milking corporations, and also that
you've written about that.
Yeah, and that it is actively harmful in the sense that when corporations, I actually do believe that corporations oftentimes internally do have racist structures set up within them, and also they operate sometimes in racist ways. And when they get sued for that, and they're facing the consequences of that, one of the things that they do is they hire these DEI consultants.
Right.
And say, well, you can't come after us, actually. How could we possibly be racist? Like, we spent this money to bring these consultants in, and the consultants then cover for their more systemic racism to be allowed to continue without being interrogated. What it does is it turns the interrogation inward, where you say, well, these structures and these corporations can't be challenged. What we really need to do is look inside and find our own racism. And because we're all born with it or whatever, it's just inculcated in us. None of us are then responsible for it. And so therefore, we're not responsible for actually changing anything on a system-wide basis. But I'm curious, as somebody who spent so much time within this grift of a system, what was your take on these folks? Do they believe what they're saying, or have they found a consultancy that is that they're able to make money on, and they're kind of now locked into it?
Yeah, it's the short answer is I don't know exactly if they believe what they say, but it strikes me that they probably don't believe much of it, especially the parts of it that are so absurd on their face. But there's a lot of money in it, as we discovered making the film, and then of course there's a lot of power and influence, and also there's it must feel very, very good for them to be consulted as these kind of moral experts, and so that's what they get out of it. So it's actually not very complicated. That's why they're in this, because money, power, influence. Right? It's the tale as old as time. Now, on the other hand, you've got, so that's like the Robin DiAngelos of the world, selling the books, making millions of dollars. But then you've got the people that are actually buying the books and who are going to the race dinner and going to these seminars that we kind of crashed for our film. They're a more interesting case because they're not getting any money out of it. They're spending money, and they're not getting power influence out of it. So for them, I think part of it's like a virtue signal. They want to be able to tell their friends that, hey, I went to a race to dinner and it was so life-changing. But then most of it for those people is that I think they actually do believe it. It is speaking to something. There's something going on inside them. I don't know if it's just a kind of guilt or something that they carry around. And a lot of them are secular. They don't have religion. And so this becomes kind of like a replacement for religion. I don't know if that's part of it. I think it's probably part of it.
Yeah, I feel like those people have kind of correctly identified that they were raised in a society that still does have racism as part of it.
And as I think any multicultural society always will.
Yeah, well, it's their way of kind of trying to confront it. I think it's ill thought out, but I understand where they're coming from.
But what I would say yes, there's still racism in society. There always will be. As long as